Welcome to the GC Digital Roadshow with the Stock Exchange of Thailand. For today, we just announced the third quarter results of 2019. Before we start, we would like to preempt that this year GC, in terms of the sustainability, we are ranked in the first rank for the Dow Jones Sustainability Index, which we already ranked for the seventh consecutive year, and this is what we commit for the investor that we will grow our business in terms of the sustainable development frameworks. Today we will discuss in three areas. The first one is the financial results, and then strategic pathway, and finally is the market outlook to see what is the market for today and what we expect for next year. In terms of the financial result that we just announced in the beginning of the November, in terms of the revenue, even though the Dubai price is a significant drop from $67 per barrel in the second quarter to the $61 per barrel in the third quarter, but the revenue is slightly dropped 1% from the previous quarter. The main support is mainly from the high utilization rate. As you will see on the right hand side in the box, the utilization rate is significantly improved in the third quarter. In the second quarter, the refinery run at about 94%. This quarter we run at 101%. For the aromatics, in the second quarter we have one plant turnaround for aromatics 1, and after we complete the turnaround in the second quarter, this quarter is the first time that we are able to run at 100% for the aromatics, and this seems to be a new norm for the aromatics in the future, which we expected that at least about 95% will be a norm for the operation. For the olefin and derivative, the olefin cracker is increased from 101 to 107 in this quarter. It's mainly from the high reliability and the quantity of the feedstock that we receive, especially the gas flow supply that we get, that help us to run at a high level. Even though they have some partial offset by the soften in the product price, especially for the polyethylene, in the second quarter, the polyethylene price on average is $1,080 per ton, but in the third quarter is about $951 per ton, which is drop, but at the end the revenue is decreased only 1%, which mainly support from the high operating rate and the selling volume. In terms of the adjusted EBITDA, is decreased for 2% from the previous quarter to be 7.4 billion Thai baht. The key reason is still about the market situation that have an effect from the prolong of the trade dispute between the U.S. and China. So the olefin and derivative, which are mainly heavily focused in the polyethylene, the price of the polyethylene is still softened, as mentioned. So that's why in this quarter, the EBITDA margin of the olefin and derivative chain is softened from 18% to be 15%. However, refinery and the aromatics margin is quite supportive and help to support the margin in this quarter. For the refinery, the market GRM is increased from $3.46 per barrel in the second quarter to be $4.4 per barrel in the third quarter. This mainly support from all the major products, especially high spread of the gas oil and for the fuel oil as well. And for this quarter, we start to sell some product like low sulfur fuel oil, which we prepare for the next year according to the IMO. And the spread of the low sulfur fuel oil is quite significant high comparing with the high sulfur fuel oil as a typical grade. And that helped us to increase our GRM in this quarter. For the aromatics, the BTX margin, the aromatics P2F margin, is increased from $75 per ton in the second quarter to be $136 per ton in the third quarter, or almost double from the previous quarter. The main support is from recovery of the benzene spread and the efficiency after we complete the turnaround of the aromatics one, and that helped us to improve the margin. And that's the reason why even the price and spread of the olefin chain is softened, but it's also support from the recovery of the refinery aromatics margin as well as the sales volume as well. When we look at the net income is quite significant, 21% Q on Q, to be at 2.6 billion Thai baht. The main reason is this quarter we have significant less in terms of the stock loss comparing with the second quarter, and in this quarter we don't have any extra item comparing with the second quarter, which they have provision to book according to the changing of the labor law, and all the company have to set the provision which affect roughly about close to 1 billion Thai baht for the second quarter. And that's the reason why this quarter the net income is improved quite a lot. In terms of the portfolio, on the right hand side, the circle of the adjusted EBITDA charge, the olefin and derivative is still the major contribution for us for 60% of the EBITDA. For the refinery, it's about 17%, and aromatics is 9%. The remaining is for the rest. This page is show more detail that we already discussed in the previous page. You will see that the operating profit of the main business, especially for the refinery, aromatics, and the olefin, is have not a significant change much based on supportive in terms of the volume and the margin of the aromatics and refinery. For the sharing of the subsidiary, JV, and associate, the main reason that make the contribution in this part is less is from soften in the polypropylene chain and the phenol chain as well. The stock gain or loss this quarter, the third quarter is only loss for 159 million Thai baht, comparing with the previous quarter is like a minus 1 billion Thai baht. So that's the reason why it's quite improved a lot. FX gain and loss in both quarter is actually we still report the gain from the FX. As you know that the Thai baht is keep appreciation for a period. In the third quarter, the Thai baht is appreciation for like a 0.15 baht per dollar, comparing with the second quarter is about 1 baht per dollar. So that's the reason why the gain is quite less. The extra item is already mentioned, is about the booking of provision, which this quarter we don't have, and that's the reason why it make the bottom line increase from 2.2 billion Thai baht to be 2.6 billion Thai baht, or increase 21%. In terms of the financial position, this page just to give you a picture that the company still have cash on hand almost 40 billion Thai baht, which will support the company in terms of the investment. for the future opportunity as well. The cash flow in the below chart, the capex for the first 9 months, the investment for the project is almost $1 billion US dollar, or close to 30 billion Thai baht. The main investment now is still focused in 3 projects. The first one is what we call ORP, olefin reconfiguration, that we are building a new naphtha cracker. The second project is PO, propylene oxide, and the last project is polyo, which is the extend change of the propylene change to the downstream of the polyurethane change. All 3 projects we announced a few years ago that it will invest about roughly $2 billion US dollar, which mostly invest last year, this year, and next year. All the project is expected to be complete by the second half of next year. In terms of the funding, this year in the third quarter, we have 2 activities for the issuing bond. The first one in August is about 10 billion Thai baht. We issue for the PO for 5 years with the coupon rate 2.9%. And the second round is we issue 10 billion Thai baht for the PP bond. And the interest rate is the new one is lowering as the market condition. So and that's the reason why in the second quarter to the third quarter, the average of cost of debt is decreased from 3.8% to be at 3.6%. And the average right now is 4.08 years. That's the summary of the financial performance and the position of the third quarter. In terms of the strategic pathway, we have the vision to be a leading global chemical company for the better living, which our vision will be complete and supported by our strategy, that what we call 3-step strategy. The first one is about what we call step change. It's about to strengthen our home base in Thailand or in the Southeast Asia, as well as extension should be the downstream, and to have adding more high value added to our product portfolio. The second is about a step out to seek a second home base for GC, that we will have a competitive advantage and set up the new investment bed abroad. And the last one is about step up to drive business based on the sustainability framework. The first one about the step change, I will elaborate more that we try to strengthen our home base or our existing operating asset. That's why we will continue to enhance competitiveness and reliability. On the left hand side, we try to control our operating expense based on a zero growth project, as well as the max project that we implement for years that relate to the framework that we try to streamline the process to do the cost minimize and process improvement to make our company have more competitive and with the less cost. Those will continue in the future. On the right hand side, you will see that another 2 areas that we focus is about digital transformation. We try to implement and employ more new technology, both the IT, digital, and the AI in the 3 key areas. About the first one is about the business area that we can employ to use in our day-to-day operation to be more efficiency, both in terms of the asset maintenance, operating, supply chain, and the sales and marketing as well. On the right hand side, it's about the technology that we can use to make our business more lean and have a streamline in the work process, like to do like a cyber security or the data integration. And the last one is about the people that we try to employ more and transform our people for the next generation. On the below is what we continue for years, and we already achieve our plan to be first quartile in reliability area that will support our long-term business. The next is for the step change as well, that we try to strengthen our home base, that we try to expand into the high value business and the Southeast Asia. In the past, we looked at the Thailand or the Mataput area as a key. So now we try to look at the Southeast Asia to be our home, and how can we expand to this market, which we identify as a high growth market. On the left hand side, we try to make our home in the Mataput is more efficiency based on Mataput integration plan. So we will look in the area that how can we optimize our supply chain from the production to the sales and marketing and the logistics as well as the energy and utility optimization, and how to enhance our value added to our business, which will support from what we already touched on the last page. On the below, we mentioned about the upstream enhancement, that you might heard that many new technology that call crude to chemical, that is a new employ with many new plant that will have more cost competitive and less operating expense because you have a less production process. Actually, for GC, we start this process for a long time, but you might not aware of it. Currently, our process can yield the crude to chemical close to like a 26%, which comparing with the typical, the new technology is 40%. But based on our strategy that we will integrate and implement, we expect to reach the 40%, which is on the normal rate of the new technology as well. And that will keep us on the competitive edge with the other competitor. In terms of the high value added business, we focus more in high value business, or what we call HVB. Currently, the portfolio that we have on the left hand side, you will see that 84% is based on the basic chemical, and 16% is performance chemical and the green chemical. So we intend to enhance more portion of the performance chemical and green chemical that will give us more command in terms of the supply chain management and the margin management as well. That will be our long term for the next 10 years. But how can we transform our business to be this kind of a product portfolio? On the below, you will see that we will be a strategic investment through the value change. So we try to enhance our business and investment more to the right hand side. Our business is in the past, it start from the left hand side in the upstream, like you might familiar with what we call the ethylene, propylene, paraxylene. We try to enhance and invest to the right hand side of the downstream, which like PE compound, PP compound, or even the engineering plastic that we call the PA90 HSPC. We continue follow this pathway, and we within the past 10 years we increased our partner from a 14 partner to be a 31, and we increased the number of JV from 10 to 22 now. That will help us to enhance our business profile in the future. One of the things that you might recognize on our P&L, you will see that the sharing profit from a JV and associate is a significant increase in the past few years, and this trend is expected to continue for the future once we have more collaboration with the JV in the new performance chemical. The last one is about expand home base, which I already touched that now we are looking the Southeast Asia is the major market. So we try to capture the market and strengthen our network for the future. In terms of the investment, we try to explore any opportunity that we can invest there. But if not, we can enhance our business through our sales and marketing arm. So that's the reason why when you look back for the past few years, you see that PTT GC set up many sales representative or the JV in terms of the marketing with the local partner there, and that will help us to have a presence in the market and prompt to access the market once they have a more opportunity in the future. The second strategy is what we call step out, that we try to be leading at the global level to see the opportunity for the future, that how can we create the growth abroad. On the left hand side you will see that we try to seek the second home base for the future. When we look at the chart on the left hand side that elaborate about the global ethylene cash cost production, in terms of the left hand side you will see that the Middle East and North America that are advantage from the new discovery of the shale gas and shale oil have a more competitive for the future. So that's the reason why we study for the project for the US for many years, and we expect that to have more clarity next year. On the right hand side is in line what we look for the second home base strategy. The competitive feedstock is like the shale gas that I already touched. The proximity to the customer is about to see where can we establish in the market and have a very high growth market that will give us more opportunity to expand for the future, like to do M&A, CVC or collaboration to access more in a specialty product. On the below chart you will see that the business portfolio target. Currently the main focus, the production base is 93% is still focused in Thailand, so the major base of the profit will come from Thailand. Only 7% is from our international investment. In the future we try to expand the portion to be 30 and 70%. The last one is about the step up model. It's about to focus on the sustainability framework, which for GC will be based on what we call circular living. We employ many international standards like a DJSI, like what we already touched, that we got the first rank this year and we ranked for the 7th consecutive year. We employ the framework of the Sustainability Development Goal or SDG from the UN that we are focused in the main two areas. The eco-efficiency, circular economy, and the climate change with focus in the greenhouse gas. So we employ this framework to our strategy. The first one, what we call smart operating, that we make our process and integrate in the value chain to in line with this. Based on this, we try to focus more on the greenhouse gas emission reduction, which we have target to achieve. The second is about responsible caring. It's about to apply the eco-design principle for healthy and environment friendly products. Like you will see that we have more and more products that have a carbon footprint and a green product portfolio as well. The last one is about the loop connecting. It's about to collaborate with the partner and create a networking for the future to support this strategy. And that's the brief of our strategic pathway. For the market outlook, I will ask Kun Praveen to continue on that.
Okay. So we'll move on into the market outlook for the year 2020.
Looking into the next year, obviously there will continue to be the external factors which will affect how the company will perform in the next year. So mainly the impact from the global economic slowdown as well as the trade dispute between US and China will continue to affect the petrochemical prices and spread. Also another factor is going to be the implementation of the IMO standard, which will start to take place from 1st of January in 2020. So that will also affect the performance of the company as well. So beside all these external factors, the company will continue to try to improve the internal performance of the company. So for example, next year we expect the volume of the production of the company to grow from the current year by about 11%. Mainly you can see from the utilization rate, which across most of the business unit will improve from the current year. So for the refinery, we expect the utilization rate will increase from 85% to 100%. This is because we have the plan turnaround, which is currently ongoing in the fourth quarter of 2019. So next year we will be able to run at full capacity for the refinery. For the aromatics, since we have the turnaround in the second quarter of this year for the aromatic plant, and after the operation has start to resume production, we can also see that utilization has increased since we are able to produce more of the product, for example, more of the paraxylene product, since we have also changed the catalyst in the aromatic plant as well. So next year we expect the utilization rate to improve to 95% for the aromatic business. And also for the olefins, next year we expect to have the turnaround in the first quarter for the olefin number 2 plant. And that might have some effect on the slight decrease for the olefin plant from 103% to 98% in 2020. And beside all these, we also have the new project which will start to commercially operate in the second half of next year. So the 3 projects are the new naphtha cracker plant, and also the propylene oxide plant, and also the polyol plants, which will start to operate in the second half of next year. So this project will also contribute to the growth in the volume for GC as well. Moving on to the market outlook. For the first, we'll start on the refinery business. So the company expect the crude oil price for the next year. The factor that will affect the crude oil price mainly will be the demand, which might be affected by the trade war, which may prolong on into the next year. And also there will be some pressure as well from the new supply coming out of the US, which is starting to produce more of the crude oil coming into the market. However, we expect the OPEC production to try to control the output as well. So overall, we expect the Dubai crude price to be at a range of $58 to $65 per barrel in the next year. So slightly in the range of the same as this year, which we expect to close at around $63 per barrel. Looking at the petroleum product prices, the main factor next year will be the effect from the IMO standard. So there will be increased demand in terms of the low sulfur fuel oil, which will need to go into the shipping and as well as the marine vessel. So from next year, we expect the market will mainly use the low sulfur fuel oil to meet this standard, as well as the more demand for the gas oil as well, which can also be used to blend with the fuel oil in order to meet the IMO standard. So in terms of the spread, we expect the low sulfur fuel oil to increase next year from about $12 to up to $17 to $18 per barrel next year. On the other hand, the high sulfur fuel oil, the demand will decrease, and we expect the spread to go down to the range of about -$14 to -$13 per barrel. And on the other hand, for the diesel, as I mentioned before, the demand we also expect to increase in order to meet the IMO standard. Therefore, the spread for the diesel next year we expect to go up to $19 to $20 per barrel. And for the gasoline spread, since some of the refinery they need to switch to produce the diesel in order to meet the IMO demand, so there will be less supply for the gasoline coming into the market as well. And this will be the positive impact on the gasoline spread, which we expect to go up to about $9 to $13 per barrel next year. So overall, we expect to have the positive impact on the GRM. And GC is able to meet this impact as well, as since we are able to produce the low sulfur fuel oil to meet the IMO standard. Moving on to the aromatic chain. Firstly, I'll discuss about the paraxylene chain. As you can see, the price movement this year for the PX spread mainly was impacted by the new supply coming in from the mega project, mainly in China. So the spread has come down to the range of about $250 to $300 per ton. And going into next year, we expect the spread for the PX to stay around $320 to $320 per ton. And for the PET and the PTA, the spread we also expect to stay stable. For the PTA, we expect to be at around $130 to $140 per ton. This is mainly reflected in we expect the operating rate in the polyester to still be quite strong despite the oncoming potential effect from the slowdown in the economic. And for the benzene chain, if you look into this year for the 2019 spread, the spread was quite low in the second quarter, mainly from the slowdown in the demand from the downstream because of the scheduled turnaround. However, the spread has rebounded since the third quarter. And looking into 2020, the spread should be rebounded, coming back up to the level of about $150 to $180 per ton. And for the phenol, next year the spread should be just only slightly softer compared to this year, as we don't see any new major capacity coming in for the phenol production. For the olefin chain, firstly, looking at the polyethylene prices, so this year the price has come down compared to last year, and currently the price is around $850 per ton. And this has been because of the slowdown in the purchase of the consumer and the converter. And we can see from the low level of the inventory level in many of the geography area. And there's also impact from the new supply coming in from the US as well. And so next year, the price of the HDPE, we expect to be about the same level as the current level for 2019. So should be around $910 to $1,030 per ton. For the MEG, there will be some new supply coming in the fourth quarter, mainly in China and the US. However, we expect the price to stay quite strong because mainly of the downstream demand, mainly in the polyester segment, is still healthy. So the price of MEG next year we expect to be around $580 to $620 per ton. And if you look at the spread for the HDPE over naphtha, we can see that right now the spread is quite low. Current spread is at about $320 per ton. So at this level, we expect some of the high-cost producer, mainly the liquid-based producer, to start having to cut their production since the margin might not be enough to cover their operating costs. So this should be able to help maintain the price in the polyethylene chain. Moving on into the propylene, just to wrap up on the PP price, we can see that this year the price is still quite healthy at above $1,000 per ton. So next year we expect to stay at about the same level. Not that many supply coming into the market next year.
Yeah. I think that's all in terms of our recent development and what we expect for the future. Next year, we think that the business performance will gradually increase, especially improve in terms of the volume that we just mentioned, because next year the turnaround plan is less than this year, and we expect more clarity in terms of the market situation as well. So that what we think that we will be gradually improve in both performance and the market situation as well. I think that's all for the PTTGC strategy and market expectation. Let's go to the Q&A. From the strategy that we just mentioned, we have a 3-step in terms of the investment that we just mentioned: the step change, step out, and step up. For the step change, as mentioned, that we will focus in both the high value expansion to the downstream and the home base, which now we are look at the Southeast Asia as our home base country. So that's the reason why we have keep our eye on our neighborhood country, especially from the CLMV country, Cambodia, Laos, Myanmar, and Vietnam. In the past few years, we used to sell to those markets like 20,000 tons of the polyethylene, or like about 1% in our polymer portfolio. Now we sell more than like 250,000 tons per year of the polyethylene, or about more than 10% of our polymer portfolio. And we try to set up more the sales base in those countries to have more presence and penetrate to market and gain more the market intelligence. One of the example is we do some joint venture with our partner, which we hold minority in those companies, but they help us to gain more market knowledge and have a feel on the ground for those countries that we will be ready for the future. This also for the other country in the Southeast Asia as well, like Malaysia or even Indonesia, which is a high growth market, which we see as well. For the step out strategy, as we mentioned, 2 things that we support our justification in the investment. The first one is about the competitive in terms of the feedstock that we might get from the area that we will invest, or we will invest in the geography that have a high growth market. So the US might be one of the consideration for us. We already start the study for the US cracker project for almost 5 years, and we still study on it. So that is one of the key potential that we might consider for the future growth, because at that area they have a competitive in terms of the feedstock price, but we need to carefully consideration in other aspect as well. So that why we think that might be within next year we will see more clarity in terms of the project decision. The last one is about the step up, the sustainability. Actually, GC focus in this area for many years before they have more alert in the market, and that's the reason why we are participate for the 7 consecutive year for the DJSI, and we also participate in other accredit as well, like a carbon footprint or the FTSE for good, and we try to employ all those framework to be one of the our business operation, and to make our business sustainable growth in the future. And that's why we got the first rank in this year, and we will apply those kind of framework in our long-term plan to ensure that we will stick with this framework, and we make ourselves to be a leader in this area. In terms of the investment, even though they have market pressure, and you might aware that many corporate in the peers in the chemical industry have a downturn in the performance. For us, we have prepared for this situation, and that might not impact to our investment plan. For ourselves, our credit rating of a triple B plus for the S&P and Baa2 for the Moody's is show our strength in terms of the financial position. The gearing ratio is very low. The net debt per equity is just only 0.2. So we have still more gearing ratio to support our investment in the future. So we will have more room for us to make a leverage and using operating cash flow to support our investment for the future. In terms of the dividend payment, we have the minimum policy of the 30% of the payout ratio, but in the past we try to maintain like you will see in our track record is about 45% on that, and we will try to look at this level. Based on our investment plan, we already factor in the dividend payout already. For the capex plan for the future, as mentioned that this year, last year, and next year will be the major investment from 3 projects: the PO Polio, the propylene oxide, and the naphtha cracker. After that, the investment is still not much, but still based on our future opportunity for the investment. I think the questions that we got is already in line what the company look at for our strategy, that how can we expand for the future, which will create growth both in terms of existing business, the new or the future geography, and for the sustainable growth as well. This will be the framework that we will look for the next 10 years to make our company strong and able to our balance our product portfolio well, as well as the sustainability growth as well. I think that's all for the PTT GC for the third quarter results and our recent development. So thank you very much for joining us, and see you in the next quarter. Thank you.